welcome everybody. I'm Dolly Wolf with One Day Immersion. I'm the founder, and it's my pleasure to have you guys with us again today. For those of you who have been here before, thank you. For those of you new to our new online series, we sincerely appreciate you spending time with us on Monday. We feel it's time well spent. We reach out to some of the, most engaged and interesting and kind of movers and shakers in media, entertainment, and technology. We look at diverse backgrounds from life experience to age to gender to ethnic background and roles that they play in the industry. And so it just made total sense for me to reach out to Melanie, who I met on campus. She went to Lafayette College in Easton, PA, and I had the privilege of hosting an event there with a top NBC Universal executive. And correct me if I'm wrong as you get into your talk, Melanie, but I think you may have interned with him.
I did an externship, which the Lafayette students are familiar with. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that takes courage and to actually put yourself out there and go and meet people. So something to kind of remind yourself that everyone feels a little uncomfortable introducing themselves to somebody, but it usually pays off. Melanie is currently I want to get it right, forgive me. She is the sales manager, social sales at Forbes. And as I'm sure everyone knows, Forbes is a global leader with a global media leader with a reach of over 120 million people, which is phenomenal. And Melanie came to the first, I think, one or two one-day immersion conferences where we continued to connect. And, like on LinkedIn, and I got to kind of watch what was happening with her when she would post things, or I'd see something come up on LinkedIn, as one of the folks that I am connected to. And it's just fun to watch somebody thrive. It's fun to watch somebody deserving to kind of make the moves, and she's going to share those moves with you. And so I'm going to shut up, and I want you guys to, get questions ready for the end, but I'd love for you to welcome our guest speaker, Melanie Ruderman. Melanie, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Dolly. Can you guys hear me okay? I know some of you are on screen, not if you're good. Okay, perfect. I just want to first off thank Dolly again and One Day Immersion. I'm truly honored to have been chosen to, be amongst these incredible people that, did this session before me. I feel like it was a mistake that Dolly asked me, but we're going to roll with it. Maybe the perspective that I bring is that I'm only 6 years out of college. I think I have a lot of Lafayetters, Gopards on this call. So speaking to you guys will know a lot about what I'm talking about, which is really great. But again, I bring that kind of millennial perspective, and it's nice to kind of talk to somebody who isn't too far out from what you guys are experiencing. Things are a lot different. I think things change really quickly, but definitely good to hear from people who kind of understand what you guys are going through. So I'm going to kind of jump right in. Like Dolly said, I am the sales manager at Forbes. I work on our revenue and partnerships team. I'll get into that a little bit later, but I had a pretty crazy journey to get here, as do most people in their career. And, this session is about adaptability and being adaptable and being able to roll with the punches. So it's not only the theme of this webinar and this series, but also kind of a constant theme throughout my life and throughout my career. So I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to try to keep track of time. And then I'm going to stop every once in a while and kind of highlight kind of moments where I had to be adaptable. And hopefully that will help you guys in your career journeys. And if you're feeling brave, I love seeing I love seeing some of the faces. So if you guys want to turn your camera on, I would love that because it makes me a little bit more comfortable instead of looking into black screens. But again, only if you feel comfortable. Thank you guys for tuning in regardless. Oh, there we go. Yes, brave. I know Zoom calls are very awkward. I'm on them every single day. So I know it's a little weird to be on camera. But thank you for those who are. All right, I'm gonna jump right in. I graduated from Lafayette College in 2014. I actually went to school. I got recruited to play Division I softball, and I was gonna be a biology major. I was thinking, oh, I'm athletic. I've played sports all my life. I'm going to be a biology major. I'll go pre-med or do physical therapy. It makes so much sense. 3 weeks into chemistry, I got like a 40 on my first exam and I felt so lost. Yeah, see, I laughed too because it was really bad. Like I've never failed anything in my life, as silly as that sounds. Like I was like, this is not for me. And I remember calling my dad, like crying. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I came to this school to be pre-med, I'd be in science, but I realized really quickly that that wasn't for me. First moment where things weren't going my way, needed to adapt, change. Another big kind of switch up in my college career is that I went to school to play softball, actually. My freshman year, I actually busted my shoulder again and had to have surgery. And my arm was not going to be the same anymore. And I decided to quit softball. I decided to quit the very thing that I've been playing since I was 6 years old. And that was a really big part of my identity. So kind of those two big things, you know, getting out of the idea that I was going to go into science and do physical therapy, and then also not playing the sport that I loved so much, it kind of really, you know, turned my life upside down in college. And that's kind of where I want to stop really quick to have like our first adaptability moment, number one. So, you know, I kind of lost who I was. I was like, everything that defines me is no longer what I am anymore. So what do you do when you don't know who you are anymore? You try something new. So don't freak out if, you know, things aren't going your way, things aren't, you know, happening the way that you planned. I tried something new, which I'll get into, and it really kind of saved me. That new thing that I tried, so as I'm talking on the phone with my dad, crying about how I got a 40 on my chemistry exam, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to drop this class. Like, this is not going to work. He's like, okay, like you're going to have more time because you're only going to be taking 3 classes. So I saw this email that Career Services sent us that they're going to have an internship in their office. He's like, why don't you try to do that? You can fill some time, make some money, like win-win. I was like, okay, sure. I'll look into it. Interviewed. Luckily got the job. I don't know how, but I did. Got the internship in Career Services, and my life was different since that day. That office, for those of you who are at Lafayette, but all colleges have a Career Services office. Use them, use them, use them. I cannot stress that enough. Maybe I'm a little biased because they're like my family, but use them. They teach you so much about the career world, and they'll get you the connections you need and everything you need to know about business and getting jobs. Like that office and those people are going to help you along the way. So I actually was an intern in the Career Services office for about 3.5 years, which again, kind of really changed my life and changed my career trajectory. Because of that, that internship, I was able to be exposed to kind of this new world of business, this new like corporate world. For those of you, again, who go to Lafayette, you guys are familiar with the Lafayette Externship program, which is a shadow experience that alumni do. I actually was an externship host this past year, which was really fun, my first time doing it. But basically, alumni have students come over the winter break, and they get to shadow for about 1 to 3 weeks and learn a little bit about what they do. Because I was the intern in Career Services, I kind of had like first dibs on all of the different opportunities, which was really cool. And I'm really big into sports, like you guys know. So I saw this opportunity at ESPN. And I was like, oh my God, like I have to get this one. Luckily, I got it. And that was my first exposure into kind of television and like the sales world and production. I did an externship with this guy named John Gaster. He was in ad sales at ESPN. He took us to the offices in Bristol, Connecticut, and I fell in love. It was like the coolest thing ever. I went to Sports Center studio, Baseball Tonight, for those of you like sports, like an ESPN. It was like so cool. I felt like I was in like Disney World. And I was like, this is what I need to do. Like, I had no idea what I wanted to do because I wasn't being a physical therapist anymore. So I was like, okay, like, I'm going to go into TV. It sounds so cool. Maybe sales, marketing, just the TV world. From then on, I did a lot of different opportunities in doing externships and talking to people. I just want to point out one thing. Summer internships, I know people put a lot of pressure on them. You probably have a lot that you are trying to get. I tried to get because I figured out I wanted to go into TV. I tried to get an internship at NBC 2 summers in a row. One summer it was just a regular NBC, and then the next summer was at Bravo. And I got so close each summer, and then I didn't get it. So I had to scramble and kind of get different opportunities. I ended up working for the US Open one summer for golf, which was so cool. I worked for this company that did sales and hospitality for the US Open. So I got to interact with kind of these large companies and salespeople at companies. And I got to learn a lot about golf and kind of, how the sports world and business world come together. And then the next summer, the one that I was getting really close to getting the internship at Bravo, I actually, I made it so far and then ended up not getting it. I had to, again, scramble. And I just did an internship at this camp doing this marketing opportunity. So I was like a photographer, marketing, website intern at this camp. And not what I wanted to do, not what I thought I was going to do, but it ended up being so amazing because I learned all of these skills that I never thought that I would be able to learn. I learned Photoshop. I learned how to make my own website. Again, things that I never thought that I would be able to do. And that kind of brings me to my next kind of adaptability moment. Don't get too bummed when you don't get like your dream internship, your dream job. Like, trust me, it all ends up working out. And 9 times out of 10, you're grateful for the thing that you ended up getting instead of the one that you didn't. I promise you. So I'm going to go back into kind of importance. I know internships and experience is so important, and it is. But networking and just meeting people and learning from people is just as important. These externship opportunities, it's such a great program that the college offers, but it's not like a full internship. The purpose of it is really to just give you that shadowing opportunity and to help you network and form relationships. I'm just going to go through like a good list of the different people that I've met because they are Lafayette alumni. So a lot of you guys could possibly reach out and have them help you too. But I mentioned John from ESPN. That's kind of, opened my eyes to the world of TV and sales. The next winter, I externed with Chris McCumber, who is the president of USA Network that Dolly mentioned before. That, again, was so cool. I got to get into the world of brand marketing, integrated marketing, learning how brands can kind of put their messaging into TV shows. I got to screen pilots of shows. Such a cool experience. And again, just reinforced my love for television and kind of that sales and marketing world. And through these opportunities, I met more people. Chris was the president of USA Network. Great connection to have, but his day-to-day is so busy. So he introduced me to kind of people in HR, people who are kind of at a lower level that were able to kind of do the day-to-day and work with me so that I could get connections at NBC. I worked with Claudia and Lillian at an externship at Fox Sports. And what was really cool about that one was specifically in ad sales, and it was when they had the Super Bowl. So imagine the excitement there. They were selling commercials for the Super Bowl, which were millions of dollars for one commercial, which was very exciting. I got to meet people in HR there, people in sales, people in digital. Again, just kind of broadening my network and learning more about kind of, this television business world that I was so interested in. And again, none of these opportunities were long internship things. It was just, there were big names and I was able to talk to them and learn from them. And that's all that I needed. I didn't need this whole year internship, 3-month internship, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but just meeting people and learning from them could be just as valuable. I ended up getting an externship with this guy named Tom Johnson, who at the time was the producer of World News with Diane Sawyer. And I actually didn't get that one through Career Services. I just reached out to him on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, I saw you went to Lafayette. can I like come and like see what you do? And he was like, sure. And he ended up letting me help produce segments for World News with Diane Sawyer. So I did this segment. It was so funny. It was about like how caffeine in coffee like dehydrates you, but essentially coffee is mostly water. So you end up hydrating anyway. It was so silly, but it was so cool that like I got to work on something that was on World News with Diane Sawyer. Diane Sawyer, like biggest fan, got to meet her. So cool. Again, reinforcing my love of television. But the cool thing about that one is that one was very production based. And through that experience, I learned that I loved television, but I actually didn't want to do production. It was like way too stressful for me. I felt very like I had to shoot something and then I need to be on air that day, at least news production. And I was so grateful for that opportunity because I knew that I wanted to be in TV. I just didn't know what part of TV, and like experiencing something that I didn't like about TV was like so beneficial because it helped me narrow down, okay, what should I focus on moving forward? Continuing kind of on my networking path and meeting new people, I met this awesome girl named Darren Karp, who is a TV host on Bravo. You guys should look her up. She's awesome. She, at the time, was working, well, she still works with Andy Cohen, who's on Bravo. She has been like a mentor and inspires me every day. She is more on the production side, and she inspires me, and she's in that television world, but I knew that wasn't going to be the route that I kind of went. But if production is for you, I recommend you looking her up and reaching out to her. I met people in celebrity makeup. Her name is Jenna Menard. I learned about social media from her. I just learned about networking. Like some of these people that I bringing up, like I didn't even want to do what they do, but like they were such cool people that I learned so much from them. Through One Day Immersion, which is awesome. I met Dolly, but I also met Evan Shapiro, who did the first one of these sessions, who I just think is the coolest person. I still learn from him today. He posts on LinkedIn all the time, and he's always posting really valuable lessons. Like I think when like quarantine first started, he posted something about how to do a proper Zoom and like the angles, because angles matter, you know, that TikTok, angles matter, of like how to properly do it so you don't look like a fool. So appreciated that one from Evan. And then I met one of my biggest mentors, Karen LaCastro, who at the time was working at Sundance. I met her at the One Day Immersion event in New York City. She works at Google now, but Karen has been such a great mentor for me throughout my whole career. And I always check in with her every once in a while, and she helps guide me. And it's funny that her career path, like I feel like my career path mirrors hers. So she's always a step ahead of me, and she's always able to kind of give me advice on like what my next step should be, which has always been really helpful. But okay, I don't want to ramble too much, but I just looked at a ton of incredible people. And again, feel free to find them online. They're like the best people ever. But I just want to point, like none of these people, none of them got me a job. And I want to emphasize that because and that kind of brings me to my next adaptability moment. Like stop thinking of networking as this immediate gratification, because it's not that. And if you go into it thinking that every single person you're going to meet is going to give you something and get you a job, then you're doing it wrong, and it's not going to be successful, and you're probably going to come off pretty fake and not genuine. When you network and you meet people, be invested in their story. Be invested in what they can teach you. There is so much to learn from everyone. I'm still learning. I'm a lifelong learner, and I love meeting new people. All of these people helped me prepare better for my next meeting with the next person. So meeting John and getting to know him and getting his advice from his work at ESPN helped me be more comfortable going up to Chris and talking to him. Talking to Chris at USA Network helped me going to Fox Sports and being able to talk to them. So again, every person that I met, everything that I learned helped me for the next kind of networking opportunity I had. But none of these people, again, got me a job. But what was awesome is that all of this practice, all of these people that I met, it kind of like prepared me. Like I knew how to talk to people. I knew how to do my elevator pitch. I knew how to follow up with people. I knew how to email. I knew how to interview. And this woman came, her name is Jocelyn Egan. She worked at the Discovery Communications at the time. Her son went to Lafayette. But she came through career services to do informational interviews. And she wasn't necessarily looking for people to hire. She just was doing informational interviews to give back to the school. And I was like, this is my moment. This is my moment to shine. I'm going to use this, all my experiences. This is my senior year of college. And I didn't have a job yet. And I was like, I'm going to go into this and treat it like it's like an interview. She's not looking for anyone, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to use all my skills that I've learned from all these other amazing people that I've met. So I went in to an informational interview. I guess I really impressed her, which was amazing. I had an interview, I think within a week of meeting her. And then I got the job at Discovery Communications the next day after I interviewed. It was incredible. And I was like, this is what networking is. This is what all my practice and networking is about for this moment, that I felt so comfortable because I did it so much, talking to people and interviewing with people and learning about the television advertising sales world, that I was able to go into this informational interview and crush it so much that I got a real interview, and then crush that I was able to get the job. So again, don't treat networking and your experiences like it's going to get you something right away, because it rarely ever does. If it does, amazing. You probably made quite the impression, but it's all about timing sometimes. And you making an impression and you continuing that for the long term is way better than going into it thinking you're going to get something right away. So can I go into my first job at Discovery? I started out as a sales assistant in the advertising sales world. The advertising sales world is, so all the commercials that you see, so I was specifically on Discovery Channel. All the commercials that you see, those brands partner with advertising agencies. So they all have marketing budgets. So obviously they want to, have people see their creative, their commercials, and people be exposed to their brand. We at Discovery worked with the advertising agencies on behalf of these brands, and we would partner with them to provide kind of impressions, so amount of people that would see these advertisements. So it was kind of like a three-way kind of relationship there. It's very business oriented. We're dealing with a lot of money. We're dealing with a lot of marketing budget. So there would be times where on Discovery Channel, we were dealing with Shark Week. It was one of our tentpole events. So commercials in Shark Week would cost a lot more money than commercials in kind of our reruns during the day. So that was kind of my world day to day, really managing the inventory. It was such a great entry-level job. And just a reminder here, entry-level jobs, even if you're in, like, I was an advertising sales assistant, but like, what does that even mean? I was dealing with the day-to-day and the back end of all the revenue, making sure that all the money that these big brands were giving us was going in the right shows, airing properly. I was doing a lot of kind of in the system work. And I would just be prepared when you're going into entry-level roles for it to be like that. It's not going to be you're not going to be in meetings with the CEO and having all these like conversations right away. But you learn so much from these entry-level positions. I couldn't have asked for a better entry-level job. I was dealing with millions of dollars, and like I was getting to shadow and like listen in on conversations that I never would have been able to at other companies. So definitely, if you're interested in advertising sales, let me know. Hit me up after. I still know a lot of people at Discovery. But as I was a sales assistant there, I was kind of questioning, did I really want to be in sales anymore? It was really fun, but it was pretty strenuous, long hours. I think like 3 nights a week at least, I was in the office till like 10 o'clock. Because again, dealing with millions of dollars, I wasn't sure if this is what I was passionate about. The parts of the job that I ended up loving and really enjoying was mentoring the newbies when they started. It was a pretty big department. So I was like, oh, maybe I don't really like sales. Maybe I just like helping people and like teaching people, coaching people. And I happened to be a member of the Discovery Women's Network, which was a group within this larger company, which if you ever work at a larger company and they have these resource groups, I definitely recommend you joining them because it gives you an opportunity to meet new people and from different departments. And that's exactly what happened to me. I met people at a social event for this women's network in HR. And I was talking to them and I was like, wow, like what you do is really cool. Like I majored in psychology at Lafayette. Like I took industrial psychology, organizational psych. I was like, oh, like HR is like interesting to me. I'd love to meet with you. So kind of long story short with that, I just kept meeting with different people in HR. And the more that I talked to them, the more I was like, oh, like I could really see myself going into HR. I ended up meeting with the VP at the time of HR, and she said that there was a role opening up in recruitment. If would I be interested? And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And I was able to make that internal switch, which is, I wouldn't say it's rare, but I switched from a department that was sales into HR, which I mean, at the surface seems very different. So that was kind of my second opportunity, my second kind of career move at Discovery. Adaptability moment number 4 here. Listen to your gut, let your interests guide you. Again, I just really was feeling like sales wasn't for me at the time. I wanted to try something new. I wanted to help people, and doing HR was the way that I was going to do it. And I never looked back. I wouldn't say I never looked back, but I really glad that I took this opportunity. And I'll get into that in a little bit. So kind of, all right, my HR experience in recruitment. I just want to point out, whenever you make a switch in your career or get a new job, you're always going to be super excited in the beginning because it's like what you wanted, right? But like 2 weeks in, a month in, you always have this like, what the fuck did I do moment? Excuse my language. Because you're like, oh my God, I just left something that I knew so well. Like I was a sales assistant for like a year and a half. And then I just left it to go into HR. I had no experience in HR. Like what was I thinking? Like so many regrets. What I will say is don't give in to that feeling. I think I tell all my friends, I told my best friends recently, they got new jobs. I was like, you're going to have this moment. And I think everyone does, but don't give into it. Give it a little bit more time, because everyone always is going to have these like things. Oh, I shouldn't have left what was so comfortable. But when you feel that way, I feel like it's, you know, that it's the right thing. You needed to make a change because you were too comfortable, and you can't kind of get better if you're in that comfortable state. But anyway, in HR, I really, oddly enough, learned how to sell being in HR more than I did when I was in sales. And what I mean by that is I had to sell to people who are looking for jobs. I had to sell an experience to them. I had to sell an opportunity. I can't guarantee that, I'm just going to pick a name. I can't guarantee that Tori is going to love working at, Forbes, but I need to try to get you to work at Forbes. Usually when you're in sales, you're guaranteeing something. A brand pays us money and we give them a certain amount of impressions or, commercials or things like that. When you're selling, in HR, you really can't guarantee anything. So I thought it's an interesting way to look at it, but I really needed to understand how to talk to people and kind of understand what people were looking for, which really helped me kind of be a better salesperson. I was on the phone all the time. I had to find my own kind of candidates. So if people weren't applying to jobs that were like high level, that we really needed like good candidates and a bigger pool, I would have to go on LinkedIn. I would have to use my connections to search for people that were going to be good. Just like in sales, you have to search for leads all the time. So again, the more I did HR, the more I realized HR was sales. Recruitment is sales, 100%. In this role, I learned how to be self-sufficient. So I went from a role in advertising sales where there was like 50 of us doing the same thing. It was such a big department. And like, you kind of had to like stay in your lane and like, this is the little part of the job you did. When I came to recruitment, it was a little more like, all right, like go rogue, like do whatever you want. Like you're in charge of your schedule. You make your schedule. You schedule your phone screens. You look for people. You set aside time to kind of research. And I never had a role like that where I kind of had dictated my own schedule and like what I needed to get done. So that was really great learning experience. I learned how to mentor people and talk to people. I got to work on the internship program. So I got to help recruit all the interns for the summer, which was so fun. And that's kind of how I ended up that kind of satisfied my need for why I wanted to switch to HR, is that I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people grow, like all of you guys on the call. I want to help you guys succeed because you need help in your career. No one can ever do things on their own. And the most successful people in the world, they didn't do it alone. They've always had support and help. And once you learn to embrace that, the sky's the limit for you. But it was so great to work with all the interns. I also, which was a really big kind of key learning point for me, is that I learned about all of media. In my internship and externship experience, I learned about production, I learned about ad sales. And then when my full-time job, I just was in the ad sales world. I didn't really experience the different departments and the different aspects that go into running a global, huge company like Discovery. Being in HR, I had to recruit for these different departments. I learned about Discovery education. I didn't even know that was like a department at our company, but Discovery education does like textbooks and K through 12 learning for people all around the world, which I never even knew, and I was hiring for them. So I was talking to educational professionals. I learned more about our digital department. So I learned more about tech, and I learned about domestic distribution and licensing. So it was such a great opportunity because in order to recruit for these roles, I had to become an expert in it. I needed to learn what you would need to succeed in it. And through that, I learned more about the business, which is always a great thing, to learn about everything. It's not good to stay too siloed and think that your department's the only one that exists, because you work for a larger company. There's so many moving parts, and the more of it you understand, the better of an employee you're going to be. So for me, I learned so much in my HR role. The part that ended up that I had to lead into a little bit more is that as I stayed in that role for about 1.5 years, and I realized that I didn't want to be supporting the business anymore. HR is the biggest kind of support to the different departments within a company. They're their biggest advocates. They they know all about kind of that department. But I kind of wanted to be back in the business and being tied to the revenue. So that's when I made the decision that I wanted to go back into advertising sales, which I'm sure you're probably like, oh, you left it. Why would you want to go back? And that kind of brings me to my next kind of lesson adaptability moment. Number 5 is that just because you tried something new and, it didn't end up working out, that doesn't mean it was a failure. I just listed before, so many positive things that I learned from my HR experience. And I do not regret kind of going into that role one bit, because it made me different. And now that I'm going to go back to sales, and I'm going to have such a different experience than everyone else who is sitting beside me doing the same thing. And for that, I'm so grateful, because it made me a better salesperson, it made me a better overall individual. So luckily, I, still stayed in touch with everyone within ad sales. I was still working in the same company, so I was working with them quite often. But I was fortunate enough to get promoted into a sales planner role. This was a little different because I got promoted to work on the Oprah Winfrey Network, which at the time was a joint venture with Discovery Communications. Discovery Communications is now Discovery Incorporated, just FYI there. But OWN at the time was 50% owned by Oprah and 50% owned by Discovery. So what was cool about working on OWN was that it was kind of a startup kind of feel, because it's called a joint venture, and it was a smaller company within this larger company. So we kind of operated a little bit different. So this was really cool for me, because it was an opportunity for me to kind of combine my HR skills that I learned, plus my skills that I learned back in sales, and kind of, use that in a startup type of environment. It was a smaller team. I was able to really utilize my leadership skills, which is something that grew to be really important to me, to help kind of manage people. I had a sales assistant underneath me who I was working with quite a bit, and the sales account executive above me whose business we were managing. So it was really cool to be working on such a small team and be able to kind of have that little bit of manager experience. I love that role so much, learned so much. I mean, who wouldn't want to work for Oprah? Like, coolest thing ever. So I did that for a year and a half too. Year and a half. But what's crazy is that this role that I love so much all of a sudden changed kind of like overnight. This big news happened that there was going to be a merger between Discovery Communications at the time and Scripps Interactive. So that meant we were going to be acquiring Scripps networks, which were Food Network, HGTV, and all those other little channels that kind of were underneath it. So we were going from a big company to an even larger company. With any merger, a lot of changes happened. So I just went from working from just on OWN to now having to work on the Oprah Winfrey Network, TLC, Food Network, and Cooking Channel. I just went on working one, being an expert in one, where kind of our demographic is we were reaching African American women. We knew our mission. All the shows were very similar. So now I had to work across all 4 of these different networks, which was great opportunity. And it was so much fun being able to kind of work on these different brands. But what happened is that I was doing a lot of things that were taking away from kind of like my growth in my career. With any merger, there's a lot of different changes. And I had to embrace it and I had to roll with the punches, but it ended up being something that I didn't necessarily think I wanted to stay in. Television became less important to me. And when I was on Oprah, I was on OWN, I was working a lot on digital. And when the merger happened, my digital responsibilities kind of, were becoming less, and I was working more on TV again. And I realized that I actually liked working on digital. And I needed, again, to go with my gut, lean into what my passions are and where my interests were lying. I didn't really want to work on television anymore. I wanted to kind of embrace that digital aspect like I was doing on the Oprah Winfrey Network and on Oprah.com. And that kind of brings me to my adaptability moment number 6, is that things are great, but they can change really quickly. So again, be happy and embrace kind of when things are great, but don't think that that's your end all be all, because things can change really quickly at a job, at a company, especially if you're at a large company. Look at kind of what's going on right now with COVID-19. There are companies that were doing amazing one day, and then this pandemic hit, and all of a sudden people are out of jobs and the whole industry has changed. My sister was in the hospitality industry. She was working in Vegas for MGM, and basically overnight, the whole hospitality industry shut down because of this pandemic. So again, things that are great can change very quickly. So just be prepared for that. Because I was feeling all of this and I wanted to focus on digital, I made the decision to start looking for a new job, which I always recommend be open to it. Again, if you might be so happy in your role, but you want to kind of switch up different opportunities. But again, I made the decision to start interviewing. I was interviewing at both Google and Forbes. I ended up getting the job at Forbes, which I was so grateful for. I came over as an account manager. What was really cool about the role that I got as an account manager was that I got to work on not only digital, but I got to work on live events and print. So I was so excited because I was getting away from TV, which ended up not being as important to me. I really just wanted to be in sales and focus on digital. But now I got to learn these kind of 2 different platforms that I never worked on before. Live events, which I just thought was so cool. And then print, which for most companies you would think is going kind of, the print world is dying. But for Forbes, they were actually investing money in print still because it's a big part of our DNA at Forbes. So in that role, I learned a ton. I was doing a lot of post-sale work. Oh, and then just quick reminder about when you leave a company, the people that you formed relationships with and have mentored you are going to be happy for you, because that's a reflection on them that they trained you well enough and were that great as mentors to you that you were able to get a job at another company and get a promotion. So the people that are going to stay in your life, they're going to be happy for you. So don't ever feel like you're staying somewhere just because of, loyalty to a company or these people, because at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you, and they are going to be happy for you. So during my account manager role, I don't want you to think that everything is just easy, because I feel like when we have these discussions and we're rushing through like our career paths and different moves, everything seems very simple and great and dandy, but like life is still happening, and like you still have a social life and other things are going on. When I became an account manager, within the first couple months, I was going through a really hard breakup. I was with my boyfriend at the time for 8 years, and we just broke up. So life was kind of spiraling for me, but I was just starting this brand new job. So again, I know people think that everything is separate, but like we're human and we have emotions and we're people, and sometimes they mesh together and they influence each other. I wasn't letting it affect my job too negatively, but I feel like I wasn't giving in my full potential. So I just wanted to point that out, because again, it's not always about, like, you're not always going to be your 100% all the time. Life does happen, but it's all about the comeback. And I was able to kind of focus on my mental health. And when I did that and focus on myself and loving myself again, with everything going on, I was able to crush it at work again. And that's when I kind of like, I went from this to this. My effort was just way better. My attitude was way better. And with that came like more opportunity. I ended up getting promoted at Forbes because I was doing so well. I was working on bigger accounts, bigger projects. And I ended up working with the social team a lot. And through that, I became friends with, my current manager now, and he knew that I was in HR, and we just started talking, and he was leaning on me to kind of help him grow his team. He's like, "Oh, Mel, like I would love for you to interview for my role." Long story short, the more we were working together, the more we liked working together. And I was able to kind of switch over and kind of take that role, basically. So I was helping him interview, and then I ended up taking that role, which was so cool. And that's my role right now. I'm a sales manager on the social team. So I work with our partners. I work with different clients. I work on new business specifically. And we bring them in to do social campaigns. So if you go on our Forbes Instagram or Forbes Facebook, sometimes we have brands that partner with us and we do campaigns on their behalf. So I'm still in sales, but going through challenges of my current role, I went from always being on a team and having team goals to now having to have a quota for myself and having to reach a certain revenue goal during a pandemic. So definitely a challenge. I'm having to be adaptable right now. I need to figure out how am I going to hit my revenue goal when, a lot of businesses are going down. There's a pandemic going on. The whole business world is changing. So again, you don't have to just be adaptable when you're looking for a job and like everything falls into place after that. I'm still having to do this. Dolly wrote something so nice in my little like bio that like I'm just scratching the surface of what I'm capable of, and I genuinely feel like that. I feel like I'm the best I've ever been. I feel like I haven't even reached my potential yet. I'm a lifelong learner. I've been, I'm handling the challenges that are coming with my new role, but I love it. I love the people that I work with, and that kind of makes coming to work really great every day. At the end of the day, you'd probably be happy doing a lot of different jobs, but as long as you like the people and the environment you're in, their skills are so transferable that, it's all about the story you want to tell and, following your interests and just like following your gut. So right now that's what I'm doing. I'm learning during this pandemic, I've been learning how to code. I just feel like, why not? I have all this time. I've been running a lot, and I've kind of just been looking for silver linings. And I think that's like a good way to end it. Like being adaptable is, things are going to go wrong, and that's kind of just life, but you learn how to deal with it. And if you can pick out silver linings and kind of the things that go wrong, I think you're set for your future, because everything's always a learning opportunity. All right, question.
Hi. So I had a quick question. So you mentioned, like in the context of a Lafayette externship, right, where you have this amazing experience, but it's very condensed. how do you continue to like cultivate those relationships, especially when you want things to feel genuine? Because I know we have the tech to do so, but in terms of the human aspect of reaching out, how do you do that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think that's something that I still try to figure out new ways to keep in touch with people, because you're right. Like, how do you make it feel authentic and not that you're just like annoying people? I think the one thing to remember is that people actually like to help others. Like, it really is like an intrinsic thing in people. Like, I love being able to give back. So if you can make helping you easy for me, then I'm more likely to do it and respond to you, if that makes sense. So like, Clarissa, right? I don't want to like read a whole essay on you, no offense, I just don't have time. So if you like give me in the first couple of sentences what you need from me, like if you're like, oh, Mel, I see there's a job at Forbes and like, I want it. Can you share my resume? Be like, okay, Mel, I applied for this already. Here's the position. Here's my resume. Like, this is what I'm like, can you do this for me? Done. Easy. Because you told me what you needed from me. I didn't have to like figure out all these ways I have to help you. Like, ask for what you want, because again, people are they want to help. You just have to make it easy, because everyone, you know, if you're making it really difficult and making an assignment for me to help you, I'm kind of going to put it on the back burner, you know? And then also another way to keep it authentic is just give updates on kind of like what's going on. Like, be proud of like the cool things that, you know, you've accomplished. If, you know, I work at Forbes, if you see one of my social campaigns, be like, hey, Mel, like, I saw this was awesome. Were you involved in it? Like, not only do people like to help, but they like to talk about themselves. So if you see something that like reminds you of, you know, a connection that you made, you see a TV show, say you're want to go into TV and you're like, oh, like, that's so cool. Like, that girl, Darren, she is crushing it and like doing all this hosting stuff. She's like a celeb. If you watched one of her podcasts, message her, be like, hey, like, I'm obsessed with your podcast. Like, I just want to say I'm a huge fan. And that's authentic, you know, because you're interested in the work that they're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Melanie, I wanted to say I really liked what you said about networking and using it more as, you know, not so much as something I need, but a place to start, you know, as you're kind of reaching out, putting yourselves out there. Again, it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people to network. So, you know, I think what you don't want to do is the first thing you say to somebody is, hi, I'm Dolly Wolf. Do you have any jobs at Forbes that I could, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's off-putting. It puts that person on the spot. Instead, like you said, it's more of, you know, kind of know who might be in the room and learn a little something about those people or that particular person and start that conversation that way. I think it was really smart. I'm trying really hard to find an expert on, you know, networking that doesn't suck session. Because you know, I think we can all learn from it.
Networking is actually really fun. If you take away this like idea that you're talking to people that are like, yeah, sometimes you're talking to people that are really cool. Of course, I get nervous too. But when you treat people just like they're people and like forget about their title and like things like that, and you just come from a genuine place of like wanting to learn about them, I'm telling you, you're going to like love networking. Because the cool things that you're going to be able to do, the cool things you're going to learn, it gets me so excited still. Like, I still like treat, you know, when I'm at a party, I don't treat networking as like, what am I going to get out of it? Except that I want to learn from people. I want to meet cool people, because like, I don't think I'm cool, and I feel like all these other people are cool, and I want to like see what they're doing and how they became cool, and like the other cool people that they know. I just find that stuff really interesting. So if you can get that stigma that networking is like scary, or that you can't talk to someone because they're the president of a television network or something like that, treat them like they're people. You know, obviously be respectful. I think you'll end up really enjoying networking. And again, I know this is a crazy concept and I still forget it. Like, the more you do something, the easier it becomes. Like, I've been running a lot, and like, of course, the more you run, I think it's like common sense, right? The more you run, the easier it's going to be. Like, I never like believed that until like recently. I've run like 132 miles in 43 days, which is like crazy for me because I used to hate running, like, because our coach would make us run all the time. And like, the more that I did it and, dedicated time to doing it, the easier it becomes. So again, I know, crazy concept. The more you do things, the easier it is, but it's really true.
That's right. Other questions?
No question is silly. This is like, I feel like this is like a safe space. So anything you guys want to ask, feel free.
I just have a question about the culture at the places that you worked at. What can you say about, working at Discovery and Forbes? What was the culture like, especially being a woman in those corporate entities? Can you speak on that experience?
Yeah, that is a really great question, and something that is interesting because it's been a focus of mine right now, especially with, this movement towards kind of racial justice, and companies are being called out, and culture is very important. And I'm honored to be able to work with our representation and inclusion department that just established at Forbes. And so for me, we have a very safe space. Every company can be better. I'm telling you, every company can be better. But I've been really lucky to work for two companies that are always pushing the boundaries and, pushing to be better and not accepting things for the way they are, but always vowing to, do better for their employees. So for instance, at Forbes, we have these sessions called Brave Spaces. So with the killing of George Floyd, the day after, we had a session with all of the employees where it was a very safe space and everyone was able to kind of talk about it. Because again, life and work, they don't kind of like happen in silos. Like, everything really happens together. And again, working at Forbes and working at Discovery, I worked for two companies that care about me as a human being first and then an employee. And that is something that I want to kind of, give advice to you guys. Again, you could be happy doing a lot of different things. What I recommend is look for brands, look for kind of mentors that you look to them and you're like, oh my God, like, I want to be like them. I want my life to be like them. And you don't have to do it exactly their way. But when you find people that inspire you, go towards that rather than kind of a certain career. Because again, if you like the environment you're in and the people you're working with, you're really going to be happy. So for me, the culture at Discovery and Forbes has been really great. And being a woman in a kind of a big business world, there's always going to be challenges, but I try to, be involved in, we have a women's network, in both my jobs. I try to attend all the events that we put on. I try to kind of push that boundary and not let that kind of, dictate my career. I kind of try to take control of it. And I've been lucky enough to have jobs and companies that let me do that.
Thank you.
That was a great question. Any other questions for Melanie?
I just had a question because, like, you mentioned a lot about internship or ex-internships, and with that not necessarily being an option in the near future, how do you suggest that we kind of like target or try to find out exactly what we want to do within the industry without necessarily having the opportunity, I guess, other than like networking on the telephone?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that's something I think we all need to start thinking about, right? With COVID-19 going on and, being together in physical spaces isn't as feasible right now. I definitely feel like you should reach out to people kind of via email to see if you can hop on a call with them. Because like I said, when I did these externships, it was great being there in the office. But it was essentially having conversations with people, right? And everyone's home. Everyone's working from home. So you could probably kind of reach out to them and they can find a couple minutes to chat with you and just tell you about what they do. And again, people love talking about themselves. Like, they really do. And they love like being able to help people. So if you just reach out to people and again, kind of say it in the beginning, like, hey, like, I just really want to learn about what you do and make it easy for them to help you and, give a time that you can get on a call, I'm sure that they would. other ways to do it? I'm not sure. It's just really reaching out to people, and I would search LinkedIn, look for people that, you know, that interest you, go over social media and kind of see, oh, this is a cool kind of like industry. This is a cool company. Maybe let me look at the different departments or kind of people that work at this company. Maybe you find a job or a department that you never knew existed. Like, I didn't learn about ad sales really from college. I learned about it because I was talking to people and I learned about what it was.
Yeah, and it's also important to keep, you know, reading everything too, whether it's, you know, online.
Sure.
And I'm old fashioned, so I still get some print. That's just me. But, you know, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Broadcasting and Cable, Multi-Channel News, Synopsis is something that you get daily, and it has a tremendous career
For sure.
job bank. So you know, you could read what everybody's doing. That's a lot of ways that I find people and try to recruit them into ODI and bring them to you guys, because they're doing something really cool.
Dolly, that's a great point. And I still do that. I take the time every day in my job to like read Forbes and read different articles and read the trades, because I need to be inspired to like go after different leads. I'm in sales. I need to know what's going on. I need to know the companies that are struggling. I need to know the companies that are doing amazing, because I need to know, okay, who's going to be my next prospect? Who am I going to reach out to next? I need to know what's going on with social media. You know, there's stuff going on with Facebook coming up in July. I needed to know about that because I'm working in paid advertising for Facebook. So these things are really important. And it's not only about, you know, reading and keeping up with what's going on, but I'm telling you, it's going to inspire you, because you're going to be like in a lull one day and you're like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't like anything. Like, everyone gets in those moods, right? But maybe you read something and you're like truly inspired by like, something someone did. I just read this article on Forbes, and this company, they were like they made documentaries, and they ended up getting into this business of making 100% recyclable backpacks and bags. And I was so inspired by the story because they really were including, you know, people from these different countries, and every single aspect of it was sustainable, and their supply chain was very green. And I was like, oh, I'm going to reach out to them to try to do a social campaign. And I had a call with them this morning, and they're based in London, and it was awesome. I see this, like, I'm like a huge fan of this company now, and like I want to kind of pitch them all these new ideas. And I wouldn't have they wouldn't have been on my radar unless I was reading articles. Like, I was reading the content that my own publisher is putting out there, and it was inspiring me. So again, just keep reading, watching, like everything. Consume media. If you want to be in media, consume media. And I'm telling you, something will inspire you and kind of like spark the fire for you. I think there was a question. Richard asked, I never had an internship, but used to show up in resume and ask for a job. It used to be called showing initiative. Oh, I don't know if it's a question, but yeah, I feel like things are very different nowadays.
Yeah.
Internships are like super hard to come by. I feel like getting an internship is sometimes harder than getting like a full-time job. But again, don't be discouraged by it. You don't need to have the best internship in the world. You can make something work. I'm learning how to code, and like there are these young people who like kind of are doing the same kind of program as me. They're like 17 years old, and they're making apps that are helping people, you know, solve the world issues, how to protest safely, like super inspiring stuff. And like, they don't have internships. They just learned how to code and they're like 17. So again, don't use like not getting an internship or having like this dream experience as an excuse to not be learning. There are a lot of different ways that you can get creative and, you know, build up your resume on your own.
Well, I think we are at our time. Melanie, if anybody wants to get in touch with you or maybe ask you some more questions about some career advice, should they connect with you on LinkedIn, or is there another way you'd like them to connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn would be perfect. Just shoot me a connect on LinkedIn, but then include a message that, you know, you saw me on through ODI, and we'll link up, and I can help you in any way that you guys need. I know I'm connected with a couple of you guys already, which is which is exciting. So.
Well, I appreciate all of the background story. I learned so much more about you than I had known before. The next time in New York, I'm bringing my softball glove. We must play catch in Central Park somewhere.
For sure. Oh, I play on the Forbes team, but unfortunately it's canceled because of COVID.
Right.
But
we're going to do that. And everyone
for
else,
sure.
Thank you so much for spending some of your Monday with us. We appreciate you. We know that you've got a lot going on in your lives, and for you to give us this time and support, it means a lot to us. So we want to thank Melanie so much, an emerging leader in media, for giving us her masterclass. So thank you, everyone. Stay safe and be well. Until next month's edition.